house and for his family. It was good to have that presentation tonight. I'd like you all to consider it, and for the press to obviously make note of it so that we can help some of our seniors. I was informed, and the oldest one here, Trustee Lascala, reminds me of that too sometimes. And but it's a great cause, and you have friends and family, grandparents, fathers and mothers, aunts, uncles, and family members who can take advantage of it. Public comment. Who has some questions, concerns? Yes, sir.
I want to thank you guys very much for fixing the siding in the front of the village office. It looks very nice out there. And the other thing I have to say is down at the playground, as we were just speaking in the park and all the walkway.
Yes, sir.
There's 10 lights that are out from one end to the other.
Yep.
And one end it's real dark, and that's been. So I just wanted to mention that in case you guys didn't know
We discussed
that.
it today, actually. That's a joint town effort in village, and we're just trying to get title of it, but we're gonna be talking to Billy DeShane tomorrow, see how we can get the lights back on, get them fixed.
Okay.
We're talking.
Very interesting. Okay, that's nice to know. That's a joint effort.
We're gonna try to, the plan is for the village to take over the whole walkway along the walk down here. When it was first envisioned, that was because of a lawsuit. It was given, DEC gave that part to the town. They could only give it to the town back then, the APA. And we're in the process of now, after 10 years, taking title to it, and now we would be responsible for the whole walkway. And we actually are looking at extending it also, but we just talked about the lights today. Mike and I and Mary are gonna talk to Billy tomorrow.
Okay.
Okay?
And there's only one other little thing
Go ahead.
that I noticed, and that someone had mentioned that you're missing the handicap sign right in front of the village office here.
DOT didn't replace that.
Oh.
Because there's already enough handicap signs in the block.
Okay,
so
because that was
wasn't-
mentioned.
That wasn't getting, they
DOT
eliminated that.
has a
Shane Lamel has
You're right.
actually asked for this to be brought back in. Now, I kind of have to agree with Shane on this here. So we got people. Here we just did a thing on aging communities, and we have people that are handicapped, and they shouldn't have to go down the road and travel up the road to get to the village office. And we need to be accessible, and I think we really have to revisit that.
well, we'll call DOT.
We just move. I mean, we can move one from one
They
place to
can
the other.
alternate.
Well, but I think there's more commerce that goes on inside this building every day than probably any other place besides the school has more visitors probably.
The bank has a drive-through.
The bank doesn't have a drive-through, but.
Okay.
And that will be all.
We should get a
We'll
drive-through.
call Rob Haynes, who's the engineer in Franklin County for the state, and have him readjust the signs. We can take one from somewhere and get it down here.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Other people, comments? Any questions from the students so far? We'll go over, you'll see all of our department heads are here tonight, and they'll all give us a little summary of what's going on, and the trustees will discuss different issues. And no one else, right at the minute? Enterprise, nothing to question about? Free press, nothing?
Sorry, she wasn't here.
Clint, you want to interrupt it?
Yeah, okay. All right, so I'd like to address the public and our community in regards to this new proposed land use code that has many people in a uproar or are
Confused.
very confused because they don't know what's going on. So I feel it is my duty or our duty to try to keep everybody updated and in the loop of what's going on. So first of all, this is a draft that has been drafted by this PAC committee that had been over a year and a half or so. We at the village, and I believe I can speak because I know that the supervisor, Ms. Littlefield, also said publicly that we are in no rush to push anything through on this. The public will have multiple times to give their input. We are in no rush to force anything, any codes that are harming or inhibiting people to use their own personal property or their land or their real estate. Nor are we going to take forever to do this. And I think it needs to be said that this code, this proposed code, is something that is for the future of Tupper Lake for the next probably 40 years, all of 30, sits on our shoulders as the village board and the town board. And we are not taking this lightly. And we are going to take this very seriously. And it does need to be addressed in detail with full, with both boards. So I just would like to let the public know that it has started, and it is going to be not an expedient process. There is a lot to get through, and there is going to be a lot of times that there hopefully will be multiple schedules of times where the public will be able to come in and comment and not on the whole thing as a whole, because as far as I'm concerned, that's a lot to digest, and it needs to be broken down. And I believe that is the path that we are going to take, is to minimize what is digested each particular time. So I just would like to, like I said, just give that update.
I can tell you, you and I have had many conversations about this.
Mm-hmm.
And when this thing first started, it was upon a request from basically the planning board wanted the two municipalities' codes to become more, I guess, together, more of the same. This is all proposed. Nothing has been passed,
Nothing.
and I have a very different opinion than you about codes. I don't have taxpayers pounding on my door asking me for more regulation. And I said from the beginning, we're gonna get a 150-page document. We have to go through this code by code. And I think that what happened here is somebody took a draft that was nowhere near the final draft, found some things in there that I know if they ever come across my desk, I'm sure pretty much your desk or anybody's desk here, they're not going anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
They're gonna die right there. We'll file that in the Go Pound Salt file. We're not gonna pass those things. So this is gonna be a long process. There's gonna be debate. People are not happy about it. We already live in the most restrictive place to live in the United States, inside the blue line. It is the most restrictive. So when we talk about the next 40 years, we really have to be careful. And this is something that people need to take into consideration. That at the end of every one of these codes, there's consequences for the property owner. Either they can't use their property as they wish, they fight it, they lose, somebody with a badge and a gun shows up and says you have to stop, and if you don't, then you're not gonna comply, and we're gonna arrest you, and if, you're gonna get put in a cage, a jail, correct? That happens.
Or fine.
Or fined, and if you don't comply after that, meaning if you're not willing to get in the cage, and you fight this like some people do, you could end up dead. And that's why when we pass laws in this community, we really have to start thinking about it. How does this affect everybody else? Because it might seem good, but when you take a better look at it, there's already a code. There's already codes upon codes upon codes that don't get enforced. And so I don't think that adding 150 pages of new codes, which I know there's not 150 pages.
Right,
of new
not
codes.
all the revisions.
I think that, it's going to, when we say both the boards, I know our board will come to any table and work.
Mhm.
I've been here long enough that every member here will come work. But when it comes to the town side, there's only two people that show up, it's Patty and John. You got three phantom members of that board that just, they don't show up. It's always John and Patty. And so you're getting two people's opinions, and they're pushing their agenda on that whole board. And I feel like, some of my dealings with those two people in general, they're not really in it for the village taxpayers. You know, they got their own vision for this community, and it doesn't have anything to do with the village. And so we really need to have the whole town board show up. Because when it came time to have the discussion on the coterminous, you know, because here we are, we're trying to become one, but what happened? Patty hijacked that meeting, basically said, okay, the State Department member come here. The State Department member comes. He's got no information on what this community was really talking about, which was coterminous. You know, so there are ulterior motives when it comes to making all our stuff together. Meaning very, very much like the town. You know, it makes it very easy to dissolve the village. There are, because now all of a sudden there's not really much to change there. If somebody were to try to dissolve the village. Okay, so we'll get into this. There are codes that do not affect, they don't apply to the townspeople. You know, you can have a horse in the town. That's where the farms are. Inside the village, you can't have a horse. So, you know, there's a lot of discussion and there's a lot to go through there. And I think that every elected official on both boards should be there, not just two members of the board, because that's getting old.
Well, I don't believe that we've had an official meeting with both boards even or set up.
No.
Scheduled.
We had joint meetings.
There's been a
We
lot.
had one joint meeting and it was planned to just have two
Right.
in the code officers.
Right, which is, you know, that's
I'm
That's
just
fine.
saying, I'm
That's-
just saying that
that's,
was
that's all
how
fine
that
and
worked
dandy,
out.
but anytime we start talking about, you know, we're gonna have both the boards together, you know, what discussion went on before we had this whole community meeting?
Yeah.
Where both the boards were supposed to meet, and then we could have actually informed the public about something, you know? So before, you know, we actually have to get both the boards to meet. You know, we can sit here and say that both boards are gonna meet, I know our board's gonna show up. But let's get the other three members of the town board to show up, because there's no communication there. You know, when we say, the town and village are working together, Patty and John are coming down and they're working with us, attempting to work with us. And I think we've done a good job at that. We don't all see eye to eye, but we get stuff done. That's a lot there, and there's gonna be a lot of debate there.
Wait, my interpretation of when we met was that they had all intentions on working with us. And also just to go back on the town and village, you know, that was discussed as certain things pertain to the town as do not to the village, and the recipient of that is the same. There's certain things that pertain to the village that do not pertain to the town.
I just have a hard time passing laws to tell people what they can do on their private property if it doesn't affect the rest of the general public's health or safety. You know, my cup of tea certainly isn't your cup of tea, right? And every man's castle is at home. They should, you know, that's their castle. They should be able to have it the way they want. You know. I understand the need for codes and zoning, but I just think that when I looked through that first draft, I just saw a lot of red tape and a lot of problems there. And it's just my personal opinion. I don't personally think that we need 100 new codes or 10 new codes. I've been here a long time. I've never had anybody come in here and say I need a new code. This should be passed. I've never had a taxpayer ask me for me to pass a new law to restrict private property use. I've asked them to get rid of stuff. I've had people come and ask me to get rid of stuff, but not to add more. So that's why I'm very trepidatious about the whole thing.
Well, for certain, it's not gonna be anything that's gonna happen soon, and we're gonna go through it, and, we asked for some different revisions and different comparisons, and we'll get a joint meeting run when we get some of that Clint and I asked for
Mm-hmm.
at the meeting. I need a motion, a couple of meetings ago, not the special meeting, but the one before that, Mr. Kyler was here, and, we've talked about it, we've all agreed that this is, we can do this. I need a motion to formally approve the Climate Smart Community Committee. I've run it by both Mike and some of the departments and Melissa McManus. There's no reason not to. It'll help us with certain grants down the road. It'll help us with the community. I think the school was involved in it too, the Climate Smart, some of the students, or
Yes.
they were up at the Wild Center. Trustee Lascala, motion.
Yeah, motion?
Second, trustee Hollingsworth, discussion. I know that when Mr. Kyler was here, he gave us a brief orientation on it. And Melissa would be our appointee to that group, okay?
Mhm.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Also, there's a resolution in your packet on Climate Week. I know some of our students were over in Saranac Lake, I think, last week. We need a motion to move Climate Week 2019 in favor of it. Trustee Lascala, second. Trustee Hollingsworth. Further discussion? I think it was in both the papers too, if I'm not mistaken, about Climate Week. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. I need a motion to support the Adirondack Park Local Government Review Board in next year's budget for $300. They've worked with us on some of our zoning issues that we didn't want, and I think the $300 is well worth it.
Motion?
Trustee Lascala, second.
I'll second.
Trustee Hollingsworth. All those in favor? Opposed? The ayes have it. I need a motion to approve a resolution approving the sponsorship of Shared Services Archives Local Government MRIF application grant as presented.
Motion?
Trustee Hollingsworth, trustee Lascala. Mary, this is the grant that we discussed with Melissa. Is this the one?
This is the one with Carrie Tuttle
Yes, I
and
mean,
Carrie
With her
Tremblay.
team from, Harry
This is to
Tuttle
do the
and the
infrastructure,
Dank,
Dank.
okay?
to GIS everything
Yes.
like the rest of the village and towns in the
Free
county.
world.
Mark, is that what you and I were talking about?
I don't think we should do it.
No? What?
Not for me, I don't need it.
Right,
I don't know, Mike and the electric, we may need a different volume there,
Mike, do you need this?
I'm sorry.
electronic mapping.
Do I need it? Not necessarily, but I don't see it as a bad thing if it's, you know, it doesn't look like it's gonna cost us anything
It's,
But it
it's,
will.
yeah, it's a,
in the end.
there's
it'll
no,
cost.
it's no cost to
I
us.
thought you get 1 year for free and you get to pay dink
Right, this is.
after year 2 on.
This, Mark and I actually had a discussion about this, and everything you did for the town, just get the information from Mark.
Yeah, the town did all their electronic mapping. They got all the information from me, which we already had. For me, if we're gonna pay dink to map, what we've already got mapped, then
We're not gonna pay them, it's a grant. If we don't get the grant, we don't do
I
it.
got you, alright,
If we don't get 50,000, we don't do it.
okay.
And if we do get the 50,000, and we don't wanna do it, because
We can still turn it down.
my concern here is at the end of this free year, I believe we have to pay these people
Right.
for information we already have.
I have a majority of our information also. It isn't quite mapped out the same way on a website as far as what I saw at the meeting in Malone, but we have a lot of our own information for our system that we can use, right on Google Earth. You know what I mean? We have longitude and latitude. You punch in that longitude and latitude of a pole, go to Google Earth, shows 90% of my system. But, I mean, one way or the other, I guess.
Well, I'd like to just move ahead with it, and if we see what it's gonna cost, we'll ask her, you know, when she's here next, when is she here next week, Mary? With the meeting for,
The week after.
and if we don't, we'll turn it down.
Okay.
Is that correct? Okay.
So,
All those in favor?
come up here?
Opposed? The ayes have it. For the members, the local government conference, and for the department heads, the local government conference this year, 2019, will be held on October 15th. If any of you want to attend, please let Mary know so she can make the appointment, you know, set the reservations up for us. And I'm sure even if we're a couple of days late, if you check your schedules, I think it's 1 day in Lake Placid. Is it-
Oh, no, this one's in Potsdam.
Oh, this one's in
Food
Potsdam.
includes a
Okay.
lunch, and I know the water and sewer usually go, cause they get credit
I don't
for it.
really get credit anymore.
Oh, okay.
The head of our end retired.
Does he have one?
Oh, okay.
I could call, the mayor
Okay.
called now.
Okay.
Well, if anyone's interested, let Mary know. Check it out. I think we've got a brochure on what they're offering.
Mhm.
And we can find out if there's any classes. I don't know if it tells there.
It's in your
but
packet here, Mayor.
anyone wants to go, feel free to go. I need a motion to approve the board minutes from the 21st meeting of this month and the September 12th meeting respectfully. You have, trustee LaScala, second. Trustee Hollingsworth, they're in your packets. Any additions or corrections? Okay, all those in favor? Opposed? The ayes have it. It is approved. I need a motion authorizing the village justice and the village court clerk to attend the mandatory court training in Saratoga on December 3rd and 4th. Travel, lodging, and meals. Trustee LaScala, trustee Hollingsworth, you've been there before, so
I
you
have.
know we have to do that.
Yes.
Further discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? The ayes have it. Peter's not here this evening. His daughter's going to the National Honor Society. Oh, trustee Maroon's excused, his son got hurt. He excused at the doctor's office. The monthly code report is in front of everyone. I don't think I need to read it. Do you want me to read it off to everybody? Okay. Just for words. The Dollar General is fully lit, I'm told now. Have you checked it out? The lights are on. I saw them last
Just
night.
on the building.
Yes, the sign on the road
Road
shows
sign's
it done.
not completely done yet, but they're working on it.
Okay, that's
George
excellent.
worked on that. And the foundation is removed at 67 Lake Street. We discussed that earlier, so that's that. Let me see, he's got a couple other things here.
Approved vendor permit?
The vendor's permit. Problems with that?
No.
Okay, this is for,
Christmas trees. It's
veggies, fruits, and Christmas trees.
During the season.
Well, any problem?
No.
No.
Do we need a motion for that, Barry?
We're working on
Don't think
I
so.
don't think so.
We have in the past, like the vendor ones that went on Balsam Ave, but it's up to you guys.
Okay.
That's why we bring them to you.
Okay, we'll say it's okay.
Okay, Ron, please.
Good luck, Paul.
The proposed property sale, I'm gonna bring that in, we'll have a quick executive session, we'll have an executive session after to discuss the sale of some real property. And I think that's it for there. Chief of Police.
It's good to see you.
Glad to be here. August 2019 police report. Patrol vehicle mileage 5010 1870, 5011 1273, 5012 300 for a total of 3,443. 249 reported incidents in August. Officers found 3 open doors, assisted 16 rescue calls. We had 4 calls for utility companies, 11 assists to other agencies, 8 more vehicle accidents, and 5 burglary alarms reported. 1 order of protection served, no missing persons, 9 vehicle traffic complaints, and 1 dog complaint. Ask the board to accept that report.
Is there a motion to accept the police report? Trustee Hollingsworth, second. Trustee LeBlanc, Chief, all those in favor? Opposed? The ayes have it.
We were awarded our grant for the Bulletproof Vest Partnership Program through the federal government. I apply every year for that, for how many vests I project that I'm going to need to buy. They reimburse us for half that cost, so that $1,301 would fund 3 vests at half the cost each.
Trustee LaScala, second. Trustee LeBlanc, further discussion? We do this, like you said, every year. Hopefully we get it every year. All those in favor? Opposed? The ayes have it.
I think as the board knows, the chamber applied to do the annual trick-or-treating on Park Street. They changed it from 3 to 5 this year. It used to be 2 to 5, so it's only 2 hours this year. I've already submitted the permit application to DOT. That should be approved, no problem.
Trustee LaScala, second. Trustee Hollingsworth, further discussion on this? If we do it every year, all those in favor? Opposed?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
Chief, are your officers gonna carry candy around with them and give them to kitties?
We'll do that at Christmas time. You can play the elf at Santa Claus.
Oh, thank you very much. I'll take that job.
Right on the fire truck too.
Thank you very much, sir.
No problem.
One thing that's not on here, because
Yes,
I have another issue in the same location. We had discussed the handicap parking sign on the corner of Main Street and Cedar Street.
Yes.
Trustee Lascalo was gonna go down and take a look in the area. Now I have 2 houses up from that. Mrs. Sutton has requested a handicap parking spot be put in front of her house. I explained to her why we can't do that, but I told her I would bring it to the board tonight. She wants the handicap parking spot in front of her house, cause she's handicapped and the neighbors block her driveway and block the other parking spots. I don't see where that would ever be approved. If we could get rid of the handicap parking spot on the corner that we had talked about if we were going to move it, I don't think putting a handicap parking spot between 2 driveways where this house is even going to be approved by DOT, but I told her I'd bring it to the board tonight for discussion, because we never got an answer on what we wanted to do. Originally was the one in front of the old room residence, down on Main Street.
Can we
One in
move,
front of
can we
Julian
move the
from-
one in front of Matt's house, Matt Room?
You can if you want, we just need to
Do you need
decide
a mo-
where
do
we
you
wanna
need-
put it. We gotta ask DOT to move it for us, we gotta get it.
Well, we're gonna be talking to them this
approval
week.
for that.
Do you need a motion for that?
No, but just, where would you put it, Ron? Or where do you want it?
I think what you need to do, I don't think
Put
we
it
need a
in front of
motion to move it, I think what you need to do is decide where we wanna put it.
That's-
And when we get approval from the state that yes, they can do it, then you'll need a motion to make a resolution that
Have a
parking spot's
public,
gonna be.
we'll have to open the local law to add it.
Because we're gonna ask them about out front here. We'll find out if we can move that first, then we'll find the location for it down at the junction, and we'll, pass a resolution. We'll call Rob Haynes tomorrow, call Rob Haynes, and we'll ask him to, okay? Is that, Rob? Chief?
So you'll take care of it when you see DOT when they come?
Okay, we'll call him tomorrow.
Okay.
Other items, chief? Questions for the chief?
Chief. No bail. Everything's changing now.
Yep.
How's that gonna affect us? Can
How's it
you-
going to affect us? It's gonna add a lot more work to my department because, there's only certain qualifying offenses where we can, arrest somebody and bring them in for arraignment. Everything else has to be an appearance ticket. I'll give you a prime example of one of the laws that changed that, has everybody in the law enforcement community up in arms is burglary 2nd degree. Subsection 2 is a dwelling. If somebody breaks into your house and you're home in the middle of the night, if we go to your house and the burglar is there, we're gonna bring him out your front lawn, we're gonna give him an appearance ticket, and we're gonna let him walk away. That's
awesome.
That's where we are. Sex offenses, domestic violence for orders of protection are going to be requested, and some other qualifying felonies. We can take people in for arraignment and bring them to court. Everybody else we have to release on an appearance ticket. The court's under the same obligation. The judge or judges have to prove why the person in front of them that they're arraigning is a flight risk. If they don't have a good justification to prove that this person's not gonna come back to court at their next appearance, they can't take bail from them. They have to release them. There are different things the court has to do. The local courts are gonna be swamped, because now the onus is on them. We can't even bring people in for processing the way the law's interpreted. We just had a conference call with the Association of Chiefs of Police that I was in on. The way the law looks, and they're kinda leaving it up to departments, but we're gonna clear it with the district attorney. We're not even supposed to bring somebody in to fingerprint and photograph them, even though we're gonna release them on appearance ticket. Because the whole purpose of this law was to keep people the least amount of time detained by the criminal justice system. So basically, the way the law reads is if we arrest somebody that was supposed to be fingerprinted or photographed, we give them an appearance ticket. It's up to the court when they come to arraignment to send them back to my station to do that process. So that's a conflict for me, because as you know, we work alone during the day. So now we're gonna have all these people we arrest showing up to be fingerprinted. If the officer's not tied up, that's fine. If he is, then we're gonna have to call somebody in for overtime. The court system, and I don't think the county's figured it out yet, the court has to keep track of informing defendants that their court date's coming up. So we give them an appearance ticket, they come in for their arraignment. Could probably be 2 or 3 weeks later. With the new part of this is the discovery law. The district attorney has to give defense counsel everything for the case after arraignment within 15 days. So that puts on me probably 10 days to get all of my stuff together. And then we had a conversation about body cameras, if you remember, what we were going to do with them. It doesn't give me the time. irregardless, the defendant comes to arraignment, the court system now has to get name, phone numbers, email addresses, where they can get a text message. When their court date's approaching, they have to use one of those avenues to try to make contact with the defendant to say, hey, don't forget, you gotta come back to court next week. There's a bunch of other stuff, so my department, not so much, it is going to be more work, yes. We're looking at hiring soon, so I don't really see that as gonna be a problem. Your court, I don't know how they're gonna handle it, you'll have to deal. I just know they're gonna be swamped.
kind
But
of-
the bail thing, people are going to be upset when they see the police roll up because somebody just committed a crime against them. And my guys hand them an appearance ticket and say, see you later. That's not us, that's Governor Cuomo's new law. That's how we
This
have
is
to
why
do it.
I'm bringing this up,
Right.
because
Welcome to
we
New
have,
York.
we have,
Yeah.
but basically, law enforcement have changed dramatically in the last 5 years, correct? Would you agree with that? Like, just changed.
In my opinion, for the worse.
I'm not denying that, I'm not denying that.
And also my opinion is for the worse because of social media.
And-
That's my opinion, but I can base a lot of factual stuff, why things are the way they are, based on the nonsense that goes on in social media.
Okay, so now, not only do we have no bail, but now you have less than 10 days to get the district attorney all his information, correct?
See, before we used to just have to provide the district attorney with the basics. Okay,
Right.
if we arrested somebody, the arrest report, incident report, the arraignment paperwork, statements, that kind of stuff. I now have to provide them every single thing. If a case that I have now, if it went to court, that's when I would have to provide everything for discovery, officer's notes, witness names, all this stuff. I have to compile all this within 10 days to get it to David Hayes' office so he can go through it and get it to defense counsel within 15 years.
So, that brings me to the body cam issue, which is, now with body cameras, anything that's seen on there can be basically subpoenaed to court, correct? Is that kind of how that works now?
It can be, it has to go through redaction. I have to redact video, I can't just, because somebody wants to file a FOIA request or something that happens, I have to watch all that video to make sure there's not an uninvolved kid or a victim of a crime that shouldn't be seen. It's not just as easy as, burn me that on a disc and give it to me. I
Because
can't do
all the stuff has to be redacted now, correct? Like, faces have to be redacted, and that now requires very expensive software,
that. Yes,
and most importantly, staff that you don't have,
staff.
correct? You
Yes,
don't
we
have.
talked about that. If I had a DWI arrest with 2 officers and that they were running a body camera for 2 hours each, that's 4 hours of video that I have to go through, and with redaction software, it's not.
It's
back and
it's
forth.
8 hours of.
A 1 DWI arrest could take 8 hours for one person to go through the video.
So basically now, Albany has tied our hands, so we have a police department, they can give tickets, that's pretty much it. They can't bring criminals inside their police station. We can't have body camera video because we don't have the money to fund body camera software and the staff to go through it. Right,
Basically,
basically.
I did have a conversation, the district attorney came to my office last week and we had a lengthy conversation over that. And it seems that a lot of small departments, including myself, are grappling with this. We really don't wanna get rid of the body cameras. But if we retain them and don't get that if we don't get that video to defense counsel in time, even though we've got everything else, we'll lose that case. The defense counsel is gonna motion to dismiss, and it's going to get dismissed. And I don't wanna start losing a bunch of cases because I didn't provide body camera footage on time. I'd rather roll the dice and not have a body camera and do business the way we used to.
That's where we are in law enforcement in New York State.
That's New York State.
Right? The reason I brought this up is because I know that it says this is going into effect the first of the year, January 1st. So plan on your phones blowing up, and people burning down the fire department because they're quote unquote not doing their job, but their hands are tied.
Well, as the DA Champagne put it, it'll be the year of case law in 2020 because so many things are going to happen with these new laws that they're going to be challenged in court. and challenge to the appellate division, and case law is gonna be made on all these new laws. So really, we're gonna be shooting from the hip, interpreting the law we see the way we interpret it, doing what we think is right, and then it will go to an appellate court and make a final decision, and then within a year or two, we'll have some definite guidance on the law, of how we should go by these new rules.
So as of January 1st, we're not gonna use body camera anymore.
Right,
Correct. Or-
I haven't made a final decision yet, but I'm leaning more towards not having them strictly because of the expense.
Tentatively, you know, and this is what concerns me about that, is that now.
When we're in the right,
We're,
when our officers are in the right.
And my officers aren't happy about it.
and
90% of my officers are not happy about losing these body cameras because they've saved them so many times. The frivolous complaints that come out of the street, strictly for that I just prove instantly with a body camera.
And this is kind of where I'm leading this whole conversation, is now we're gonna have we have no way really to defend our officers. Or, in the worst case scenario, exonerate a citizen from an officer's misjustice, I guess you would say, you know?
I think before we jump to conclusions on the body camera, I'm going to see how it goes and see how things happen for a few months, and if it gets to the point where I can't meet the demand, because everything has to be produced. Every single thing that I do now has to be given to the district attorney's office within 10 days. Traffic stops on a traffic ticket, because if somebody pleads not guilty on a traffic ticket, I gotta provide body camera footage for that traffic stop. You know, most traffic stops take anywhere from 10, 15, 20 minutes. That's a few hours of going through a video and redacting stuff. You know, a small child walking by on a traffic stop, that's not something that can go, it's gotta have a blurred out face on it.
So I've been doing a lot of research on it lately, just because I know it's coming down the line. And first of all, I don't know how to run a police department. Not a police officer. I can only read and get the information and try to decipher it and talk to friends that are in law enforcement and try to figure this out. And I have a lot of friends in law enforcement, and everybody's kind of like, yeah, this is terrible. This is going to be a terrible, terrible, terrible experience in the next year for New York State residents.
Going to make the biggest loser in the criminal justice system is a victim, and it just made him even more of a loser. Because even your drug dealing, you can call and tell me you're selling heroin right here out front, and I go out and catch him selling heroin out front, and I'm going to give him a ticket and walk away. That's a B felony. A B felony. There's only one higher, an A felony. B felony, and they're going to walk away with an appearance ticket in their pocket. I can't even take them back and fingerprint.
And marijuana is now decriminalized, correct?
It's still on the books as a violation. They made it 2 sections now, first and second degree. All it basically changed was it lowered the fine from $100 to $50, and it made it easier for a defendant to apply for a sealing order from the court if the court wants to give it. The court doesn't automatically have to give it.
So
So basically, what it did is it lowered the fine $50.
In essence, it's a parking ticket,
Basically, I mean,
correct?
most tickets
Got
are.
a better part of the ticket.
cheaper than.
No, yeah, but just got cheaper.
What?
So, I don't know, I think that we're gonna have to really start considering, you know.
The good thing is that every law enforcement agency has to do it, including the state police.
But now we're at the point where, Eric, there's going to be administrative jobs in the police department. There has to be. And you can't, a guy that's out running the streets, doing patrol, can't now spend the rest of his next day going over redaction software of the work he did the day before. You're gonna need somebody specifically to do that. Just like we have an issue now with evidence and you know, when we
It
had
could be a civilian employee. I
Yeah.
had thought about that. We may have to hire a civilian employee in a non-competitive position, or hire 2 part-time, so to make sure it's not competitive with civil service that can do this stuff.
which comes down to, you know, how we fund our police department. And this is a big conversation to have. It is a big conversation to have because we have the town that pays $25,000 a year and the village taxpayers pick up the rest of the bill.
Which is,
Which is what is it, 1.7?
What's that?
Altogether, our police department, or not,
With the retirement.
with retirement, it's almost 1.7.
I think my budget without the retirement costs is what, Mary, 745?
I think everything together is just under $1 million.
With the retirement?
Mhm.
It actually was over $1 million.
It's around $1 million, yeah.
So we have over $1 million budget, and the police department provides the same service, whether you live on Stetson Road, or First Street, or Broad Street, or anywhere downtown. And this is why I've been saying this for 5 years, since we went down this road with this contract, with the police contract. That is not enough money. It is enough money, and now we're gonna be in a real pickle, because not only has this all changed, we're gonna need more staff just to do paperwork. But you also have guys that are close to retirement. Derek, you can retire anytime you want, correct? You want, Troy can leave,
No
and
names.
No? we have officers that can retire within 2 years, 1 year.
12 months, I'll be losing an officer.
Right, and then another
2 years after that, I'll be losing another one. Those are for definite.
Right.
Yeah, there's no
veteran police officers on a small force. And so now we're losing. We have to. This is something that we really have to take into consideration. We have to get the town on board with this, because otherwise we're going to have a police department that's ineffective.
The only thing is, the police in the town, we don't police it as much as the state police do, as far as.
We don't really police it at
speed.
all.
I mean, we do for emergent, like the rescue calls, Ron. And they're in there, they're out there.
Well, but the fact of the matter is that the contract is for police services, and I know that John Glynn doesn't want them patrolling over there, but really, it's none of John's business. They signed up for police services, and police services, we don't even get to dictate to Eric what he does with his police department. We can administer it, but we can't say, Eric, I don't want you pulling people over in front of my house anymore. What are you gonna say? Too bad. I got a job to do, right? And this is where
I think we need to see how it goes before we jump to the conclusion that it's gonna be.
But it's something we gotta talk about for budget.
I think it is something we have to talk about for budget, because there's a lot to this.
You'll know
To
by
it.
budget time. I'll be able to tell you within the first 2 months. At budget time in
It's
March.
something we have to keep our eye on, because it's not gonna go away. It's not gonna
The only
change
good
for
thing
the
is the 15-day clock starts at arraignment, not at arrest. And it also extends 30 days if the arraignment happens after the arrest. So actually, by issuing the only good thing about issuing an appearance ticket at the scene is we can make the arraignment date whatever we want it to be. So if it's a bigger crime that they know is going to take longer paperwork, we can make the arraignment date 3 weeks to a month out. So that clock doesn't start. That 15-day clock doesn't start till arraignment. You follow me on that?
Yep, I do. And then my last thing for you is the Franklin County Sheriff's Department. Are they gonna be running road patrols?
I have been told that the Franklin County Sheriff's Department, and this doesn't come from the sheriff, because I haven't talked to the sheriff, is running some type of road patrol. They have officers, deputies out that are enforcing vehicle and traffic, specifically I think DWI, and I think part of it's being funded by Stop DWI, if I understand this correctly. I was contacted by a sergeant to ask if they are in our area and have an arrest, if they can use the station for processing. I told them yes, with a couple of exceptions. Can't really tell the sheriff no. I mean, you could, but it's not good business to tell the highest ranking law enforcement officer of the county no. But yeah,
You know what,
to answer
though,
your question, that's what I've heard.
You know what though? The highest ranking law enforcement officer in the county has been extremely disrespectful to this village. Extremely disrespectful. So much so that even after he had a news article written about him, he goes on his Facebook and makes a joke at Tupper Lake.
I didn't
You know?
see it, but
Well, yeah,
like I said, the nonsense that goes on social media
Yeah,
is
well,
the downfall of law enforcement.
Unfortunately for us, you know, he is a duly elected official all on his own. And the only thing that the county legislators can do
Budget.
is budget-wise. And I can tell you that I don't want the Franklin County Sheriff's Department in your police department. He does not hire good people. You know, I think it's a terribly run operation. I have not heard anybody in law enforcement talk very well about them, of my friends, you know. And personally, I hope somebody runs against Kevin, because I think he's a terrible sheriff. You know, I think he takes no consideration to the people of this village. After what we went through, to just, no big deal, you know? I think it's disrespectful, and most importantly, I think it's disrespectful to the people that came forward and said things and did things. You know, they put themselves at risk, just like this village board puts themselves at risk when we have to discipline a police officer. And then to have that police officer come back into the community after we've given our word to people, like, hey, we're gonna protect you, it's all right to come forward and give a statement. And then have the sheriff be like, you know, no big deal.
I don't know what's happening on the county level, but I'm guessing the sheriff hasn't gotten money for a road patrol. He's using the budget he has allocated already to divert that money to put officers on the road, is what I'm
Well,
guessing.
do I need to make a motion at the table to not allow, I don't want them using the department for processing at all. Alright, do I need to make a motion on the table, or can you just do that?
You're gonna have to think that motion, because I have to have them in the station doing things at times, because when I have prisoners, they have work to do in the station. And if you make a motion to keep the sheriff out of the station, that puts me in a very bad position.
I think the sheriff has put us in a very bad position.
But it's not something that
You
I
know,
can
the
change.
sheriff's the one who does the hiring down there, correct?
I don't know.
Yeah,
Like,
the sheriff's the one who does the hiring. And I'm not talking about one specific officer down there. I'm talking about multiple officers down there are a concern for me to have them running inside this community. And people can say there's nothing I can do about it because he's the chief law enforcement officer of the community. But I can sure as hell let my voice be
I
heard.
mean, I'll talk to him, if you want me to
Yeah.
talk to him, cause
Yeah.
he can very easily divert his processing for that kind of stuff to the trooper barracks.
That's exactly what he should do.
As
Because
far
they're
as,
not, well, as far as I'm concerned, they're not welcome.
As far as them coming in the community, if he has an active road patrol now, there's not a thing I can do about
Nope,
that.
but they can use a different department to process their people in, you know? If he wants to be that disrespectful, and he doesn't really, you know, he doesn't do any sort of background check other than a basic background check apparently, you know? I have not heard great things, you know? I have friends that are down in Malone that say this is not a great deal. And I don't want the sheriff's department using our facility. I personally don't want that. I don't think he hires good officers. I don't think he hires officers of good character. If I was a local district attorney, I would be concerned about any cases that his officers made an arrest on. There's character issues there. And
I think you should take, I would be more comfortable if you took a vote from the board to give me directive how to do this rather than one trustee.
I put a motion on the table to not allow the sheriff's department to process prisoners inside our department. And if we wanna go into executive session, we can sit there and we can discuss what I know and what I'm sure other trustees know, that it's not a good idea. It's not a good idea. There's nothing good that's gonna come out of it.
To allow him to not have any sheriffs in,
For processing, if they have to come pick up a prisoner, that's something we're gonna have to deal with. But if you're gonna run a road patrol, go down to the trooper barracks and do your processing. Don't do it in our place. I don't want any part of it. There's nothing good that's gonna come of it.
Chief, what's the downside of that?
There's no downside, as far as processing their paperwork, the only downside that it's gonna cause for me is tension with the sheriff's department.
Well, the sheriff should be embarrassed. He should be embarrassed. To run a department like that, he should be embarrassed.
I'm just telling you that, and I understand what you're saying, Ron, but if I do this and tell the sheriff this, it's going to make my working environment with the sheriff's department more difficult.
the sheriff brought this on himself. That's his own doing.
I'm not saying that, I'm just, you're asking me what if you do this, what's gonna happen? It's going
Well-
to make my working environment with the sheriff's department more difficult.
And that's unfortunate for the sheriff, because the sheriff brought that on himself. And if it causes us more work and overtime, I'd rather pay it to our good officers than deal with that guy, or anybody in that department. Period.
If you want to continue an executive session, I'd be more than happy to discuss the things. I'm not gonna discuss it in
Yeah.
public.
That's fine.
Public
I mean,
Okay,
if it's executive session worthy,
we'll-
does it fall under the guidelines of executive session?
You gonna name any names?
Well, I said everything I had to say. I mean, I can get into
Yes, it
details
will.
if you want.
Yes, it
but-
will, because I have a name of a current employee that I would need to bring up.
Okay.
Okay, we'll hold this discussion for executive session. Chief, other items?
No, I think that's enough.
Okay. Chief of the Fire Department, Royce.
Better time than that, you broke the fire truck.
On a lighter note, for a slight increase in my salary, I could do that part-time job that he's looking for,
Sorry, Aaron.
watch video.
Boy, everybody asked for that.
For a slight pay raise in my,
No, Mark Roble, our intern, he knows more than you, so I'd have to take Mark. You want it?
all right. Monthly report for August, total number of calls, 19. 9 in the village, 6 in the town, 4 in Santa Clara.
Oh God, that's my union representative calling me.
Put on speakerphone.
That's not good. 10 alarm activations, 3 motor vehicle accidents, 1 unattended fire, 2 burnt foods, 1 smoke investigation, 1 assist with EMS for a code, and 1 car fire. Average number of members at calls 12, total hours spent at calls 10 hours. Ask the board for a motion to accept.
Is there a motion to accept the
I'll
report?
motion it. I'm
Trustee
gonna accept the
LaSalle?
report this month.
Thank you, Mr.
Second.
LaSalle.
Trustee LeBlanc? Additions or corrections from the board? All those in favor?
Mr. Hollingsworth, second.
Trustee,
LeBlanc.
Oh, wow.
Trustee LeBlanc did. I just was wondering what the burnt food was.
Thank you, sir.
What's the burnt food? What was it? Ramen noodles?
No, boy, I don't know. I think it was chicken and toast at Sunmount, actually.
all those in
Good job.
favor, opposed, the ayes have it. Chief,
Ask the board to formally accept the highest bid for the sale of our Cascade system in the amount of $2,375 from the Auctions International.
I'll make the motion.
Trustee Hollingsworth, second. Trustee LaScala, further discussion? This was out for bid in a long enough period of time?
Yes.
We get to keep that, right, Royce?
Okay,
If not by your members?
Yeah,
All those in
that's
favor?
a discussion that
Aye.
needs to happen.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, the ayes have it. Questions for the chief?
None for you tonight.
Just a very quick
Yes.
miscellaneous update. Over the past 3 days, we have had our annual engines serviced and pump tested. Overall, very, very good scoring for our engines. We have a couple of malfunctions, semi-major concerns that need to be discussed, but we can discuss that when the final report is drawn up.
Nothing on the new ones, right?
Nothing on our front run trucks. Everything is up, and even our mini pumper put out more than, so,
Okay.
So
for,
all the vehicles in the vehicle replacement program that have been replaced are operating fine. Correct? There's no,
to an extent,
to an extent?
yes.
Okay,
The general public is safe
okay,
if there are fires, we can say that.
alright.
Okay, other questions for the chief? Thank you, chief. DPW, Bob.
Few miscellaneous updates. I don't know if you noticed, all Deer Street, Church Street, been blacktop. It's all done. The only thing left is where the grass is growing, just edges of the road.
Ron, you had a couple questions on there?
Down across from Derek Bell's place.
There's Bill.
Derek Bell.
Church Street,
Church
yeah.
Street. Talked to him today, said that,
I gotta give him an apron. Derek, you talked to?
yeah, Derek, he said there's a lip.
Yep, I
That's
gotta give him an apron. I'm his
You
driveway.
still gotta do that?
Yep.
Alright, he thought you guys were all done.
Nope. I gotta give him an apron. That's on. I'm talking about the initial
Yep.
project here in church where we dug. We never really dug down there. We just resurfaced
Okay.
down to Queen Street. I gotta give him an apron, and I got a little apron to do down further. And then that whole thing is completely done.
That's on Demarest property,
Um,
right there, right across, almost across the road.
Rachel,
no, we did Rachel's.
Yeah. I think,
She had a little low spot that where the water department dug a few years ago.
okay.
We did that.
I think, did you do that recently?
Yeah.
The other day.
That's Friday, Thursday, Friday.
Alright.
Yeah.
Alright.
No, it's down further, a little further. As we were blacktop on the road, unfortunately, where the paver goes by, when we're walking down the edge of the road, there's water coming out of the edge of the road. There was a water leak on, what house was that?
32 or 33
As the
church.
paver's already gone by it, so
33?
unfortunately we
That
had
is
to cut a
32.
little chunk of
33,
the blacktop out,
33.
fix the water line, so I gotta patch that back in. Nothing major, can't really tell.
Par for the course.
Our luck.
But, yeah, that's all done, thank God. Started hauling winter sand with the town today, cause we're gonna share the pile at the town garage this year because of the construction of the new business, the building. So we started, hauling sand with them today. And, just been paying back other communities that helped us blacktop. Getting ready to button things up, we got a bunch of patching to do with Mark and stuff, and winter's upon us. Run the sander in, started working on that. We need to discuss a few things on that, but nothing major right now.
Everybody wants new stuff, Leon.
well, the only thing I can tell you, Christmas is coming.
So the hydrant flushing is ongoing.
Yeah.
Oh, that's Mark, okay. I'm sorry. What else? Bob, questions for Bob. Lean, did you have a location you were concerned about?
That's good, we're good, Mayor.
Okay. Other questions for Bob? Okay, Mark?
Hey, Mayor, thank you. Yeah, we are out flushing right now. I'm sure you're all aware. We got a crew out every day. It may go longer than October 4th. We have October 4th for the final day. That may go longer into the following week. They're pretty dirty. And if you have dirty water, let it run. Let your cold water in your tub or in your yard run to flush all that debris out. It will rile it up from hydrant flushing.
Okay.
So that's public known, general public known. And then the board to approve the final change order, 1G for the Country Club Village Water Project. Get the amount there.
It's actually a decrease.
It's leftover money.
Yep. Is there a motion?
For the refund.
Trustee Lascala, second trustee Hollingsworth. Discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Ayes have it.
And then, quick update, we got a bunch of digging yet to do. We gotta make a tap for Dominic and Tola tomorrow for the new welding shop they're gonna be building. We got a bunch of little work to do before winter.
Questions for Mark?
Mark, you guys do a great job. I appreciate it, you know, and I do wanna recognize one employee, and that's Matt Merrihew, because, you know, when you're not there, I can go to Matt, and Matt's got it going on. He really, he is an asset to the community, and, speaking with Jim earlier about the upper, that's the type of employee Matt is, where he did that, he helped us with the park, you know, he's a good employee, and I just wanna publicly recognize him for that, because He does it, man, every day, just like the rest of those guys, and I appreciate the work you guys do. I enjoy working with you guys.
My guy jumped up there too.
Yes, you
Alan,
guys.
yeah.
Alan
Yes,
Canal.
Alan was up there
I
as
won't
well.
recognize that.
Well, we'll get to him during your part. Thank you, thank you.
When you work for the village around, you gotta do everything.
Appreciate it.
You're, picking up garbage, you're laying pipe, you're cleaning a road, you're working on a tower, everything in between.
Well, thank you guys for doing
Other
it.
questions for Mark? Okay. Mike, electric department.
We need, thank you, Mayor, we need, the board to formally ratify change orders for the municipal electric garage project as follows. Murnane change order GC05 for an increase of $27,740.46. You want,
Trustee Howard?
Or do you wanna go?
You
Do
want to do
one
all,
for all,
do
if you
all
want.
together,
Yeah.
sure.
GC06 for a decrease of $13,750, GC07 for a decrease of $330, and GC08 for an increase of $39,754.35.
And this is all in the budget, in our working budget for that operation. Trustee Howard? Trustee LaScala? Further discussion? Anything, Clint, you wanna add to that?
Just the increase was an upgrade for the entrance, cause the original canopy was very generic and was actually under-engineered, for a snow load of 42 pounds, and it should have been, it was flat, and it should have been like 90. So we, changed that, we compensated some of that cost with the 13,000 of taking something away that was unnecessary. It was just basically a bell or whistle, if you wanna say, in the garage. And, the 39 is, technically was originally estimated at 69. So that,
yeah, closer to 70,000.
yes, that was the contamination of the
Soil
soil.
retention pond that needed to be because of the 1 acre disturbance. But that was originally gonna be 70,000, and through Murnane and some of the other, contractors, we found different material to use in that bioretention area at a much cheaper cost. So they kind of did that
Which
for us.
saved the project,
Almost cut the price in
technically.
half
yes.
Okay.
of that.
Second, trustee LaScala, further discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? The ayes have it.
One more change order for Burns Brothers Contractors, change order PC02 for a decrease of $553.
Motion. Trustee LaScala, or trustee Hollingsworth, second, trustee LaScala?
The electric, Mike, or the electric, who's going to the electric?
Burns is plumber.
Alright.
All those in favor? Opposed? The ayes have it.
Updates, we finished Lincoln Drive. We got rid of a transformer that's been plowed into the swamp up at Trails End 3 years in a row. Should never happen again, that's gone and replaced. We're up the pole now instead of on the ground, the way it should have been engineered when they did the road job. We had two significant outages. We had a large popple tree in a storm on Owabeek Road. It knocked down 4 spans of wire. We put that back up, a couple hours outage, and then we had the tree cutter incident on Wabeek Ave. Yeah, that's about it.
And that bill was paid by the homeowner.
That bill was paid.
Yeah.
We submitted it 3 days later and it was paid.
No taxpayer dollars were used in that other than the response of the fire department.
That's correct.
And I just wanna thank both the fire department and the electric department for, that was a dangerous scene for quite a while, and no one got hurt, and that's a blessing.
Yes, thank the fire department for showing up and hanging out till we got her under control.
Other questions for Mark, or Mike? Okay, Mary?
Before we leave, Mike's,
Yes.
he mentioned earlier, Alan Canal was instrumental in helping us,
I forgot, sorry.
get that,
Yes,
get
the
the roof
siding.
repaired, but he
Already
also
said it
did a
once.
winter repair for us on the Belleville building down the street. Our
Okay.
sidewalk plow had nicked some of the cement, and, we tried finding a private contractor, we tried, finally Alan came through for us again, so,
As always.
He does quite a bit, yep.
I mean, he's a gem to have, thank goodness. So, but thank you.
Very
So my report, I'd like authorization to pay the bills. Oh, and I didn't even fill it in, I'm so sorry. I didn't fill it in on the agenda, I'm sorry about that. It's a big one. $839,444.79. And also to approve the abstracts for the month of August.
A motion.
Trustee Lascala, second. Trustee Hollingsworth, all those, further discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? The ayes have it.
Okay, everyone's got the cash position there as of August 30th. Our auditors, something I did not put on here, our Bill Freitag is expected here I believe the 10th and 11th of October to finish up our AUD and get our New York Power Authority report filed. So it should be seamless. So we'll be able to get you your regular budgets. Water and sewer fund has been closed out, so you have their budgets, but you won't have general fund till next meeting. And the last item, we have our Franklin County self-insurance there. Just shows you what our experience rating was for the last year and gives you anything of what we're gonna have to include in our next budgeting session. So that's all I have.
For all the students that are here, do you have any questions now? You sat through this is one of our longer meetings, discussion on some important topics to the village, the residents. And I just wondered if you had any questions for any of the board members or any fire chief, the police, anybody here? We're glad to have you. Thank you for coming, and I hope you take something back for us. Thank you. I need a motion to go into executive session, discuss the personnel history of a particular individual or individuals. Trustee Lascala, second. Trustee Hollingsworth.